one of my best friends in the whole world, sitting to my right here. I've known him for now 10 years since coming off the field as a Pro Football Hall of Famer, man who resides in football heaven every day. And it's very difficult for me to look to my right because I don't want to see the look that he's giving me right now, but I'll do it right now. Hi, Marshall Faulk.
I am in awe. This is...
What do you think?
I don't know.
You don't know who I am anymore? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I know you.
Yes, you do. But you know me as a man who's a man of his word, right?
Well, yeah.
You know me
I'll give you that.
Right?
I will give you that.
Thanks.
I will definitely give you that, Rich.
Okay. When I say I'm going to do something, I'll do it.
This is true. This is true.
We all do that at game day morning. If we say we're going to do something, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
For each other.
Without a doubt. And this is...
If we can do it.
I'm having an issue with this one. I'm just...
Well, because why? I lost fantasy football? Is that what happened?
No, that happens. We know that. I mean, you know, people equate fantasy football to like winning the championship, like a real championship. That's how they look at fantasy football.
Now, you played in fantasy football against Eric Dickerson, right?
Yeah.
You were in the final with him, right?
I was.
Who won it?
He did. He won.
Who did
the Rams Legend League fantasy football.
Who else was in that?
I don't know who the other guys were.
Jeff Fisher? Jeff Fisher in it?
I say Rams Legend. So the last word is key.
Legend.
Legends. Yes. Legends.
So what was Dickerson's team name? The F Fishers?
No.
The
ED29.
ED29. Oh, so simple.
Yeah.
It wasn't called the plus eights?
Go fish.
It wasn't called the plus eights?
No. Sideline passes.
So is he calling Sean McVay today saying, hey, guess who's coming to your press conference? I'm coming, but I'd like, like 6, 7 others.
Well,
what do you think?
I'll let you know.
Are you going?
I'm going to be at the presser.
You are?
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know.
When is that presser? Today?
It's today. Today at noon.
Oh, so you're going to go...
From here to the presser.
From here to the presser.
Yes.
From the presser to
our meeting,
the human resources meeting that that is required for all NFL network folk to be at.
Yes.
Do you think I should walk in dressed like this to that human resources meeting?
Without that badge, I think you should not.
I can't get. By the way, so after I get off game day morning on Sunday, all right, 4.5 hours on Saturday, 4 hours on Sunday, 8.5 hours of television over the weekend, and then you know what we do here together.
Sure.
I come off the set and I'm looking everywhere for the NFL Network security badge that you must have pretty much
everywhere,
anywhere to get around through most of the doors in the place. Honestly, you can't go more than sometimes.
You can't get past the first security, the arm to drive your car in.
You can't even get in. Looking everywhere for it. And I'm thinking, where the hell could I have put it? And then it's the last ditch thing, which is like, okay, I'm going to go out to my car to see maybe I left it in there.
Now you're locked out for good.
And then you're locked out.
It's not good.
Right? And I'm going in my head, I'm like, okay, but I had to get it to get into the building, so I must not have left it in the car. But when it's 5 in the morning, you're not thinking straight. Who knows? So sure enough, a day and a half later, after I turned my house upside down, because I thought, okay, maybe I got into the lot somehow without it, even though I know I didn't.
Start asking your kids, did you guys take my badge?
We get a text from all of us, from Irv to me. Sorry, buddy. Look at what I found in my bag.
Yeah.
And he took a picture of my my lanyard.
And this isn't his first time. He's taken Aisha's phone, our producer.
He's taken her phone?
Yeah. Like she's been looking for a phone. Irv's in his room with her phone in his bag.
And not realizing it?
No. No, and because her phone is on vibrate, he's not paying any attention to it because obviously the only time his phone rings is when he's on set.
Or in the meeting.
But the best is
or in the meeting.
Irv in the group text, he says, "Sorry, Rich, it's some old deep-rooted stuff. It lingers. I just pick up things that are mine."
What was that line that he used when we saw Antonio Brown come to Pittsburgh with the fur coat on? What he said, something like that. It was it was from the court days.
Yes,
he had something like that, but it was the court days.
Yeah, he's like something about it. He retired that mink. Somebody asked him where his mink was. He said that mink's retired or something like that.
It was from the court days.
Yeah, that was from the court days.
Oh my God, we fell over lap. Now, when a player shows up dressed like that to a game, playoff game, they are expecting to win, correct?
expecting to win.
You have to win.
It is making you. It's saying, look at me now. Like, look at me. I want your eyes on me because I'm going to do something special today.
Did you? How did you come to the game?
I went. I didn't.
What do you mean you went? You never thought about what I'm wearing afterwards? What I'm wearing to the game? You never once thought that.
No. And I was so old school when I played, Rich. I just wanted to play and kind of be left alone. That was it.
Well, you would take a nap before a game, right?
Yes, always. I used to get in trouble for that.
Now hold on a second. What do you mean? So you go to the game, you show up.
Yeah.
You sit in front of your locker.
No, I mean I do everything. I literally get dressed, and before we went out for warm up, I'd doze off. You be in your 2-8, padded up, suited and booted for football, and then sit and fall asleep? Yep.
How?
I don't know.
Why?
I don't know. I was relaxed.
That was your pregame setup.
It wasn't like I planned it. That's just how it happened.
Do you know anybody else who's ever been that way?
Not fall asleep. I mean, guys did other stuff, but not falling asleep. It was
David Cohn? Yeah. Marshall Faulk here on the Rich Eisen Show. I'm going to take a break, and we'll come back. I want to hit you on what Law had to say. If there's any pressure on LaDainian Tomlinson.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You know, LT basically going to go in the Hall of Fame, Mr. San Diego Charger, and now the team is left. If there's any pressure from the San Diego fan base for LT to stand for something against a team that is now going to definitely reach out to him and say, hey, we need you in the Los Angeles market. In the same way that the Rams are reaching out to you to be at this presser, at the presser. Pardon me, not pressure.
It's okay.
Okay. Marshall Faulk back in 66 of the clock. We'll also find out who he thinks is going to be playing on Championship Sunday, who's going to win this weekend and who's not. Quality information coming your way from Marshall Faulk when we come back here on the Rich Eisen Show. Marshall Faulk joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. How do you see the Packers and Cowboys on Sunday?
Obviously, good game. I want to say that Dallas rested, ready, their ability to run the football, control the clock, and there's a little thing here. Rod Marinelli, the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, if you look at his history versus the Packers, he has called really good games against them.
From his Tampa Bay days?
From Tampa days to Detroit days, just against that West Coast offense. He understands how to do it. They went into Lambeau early in the season. Obviously, the Packers were not hot like they are now. And, they did some things to Aaron Rodgers that we're not accustomed to seeing. If he can do that and they can possess the ball and control the line of scrimmage, Dallas should win this game, but it'll be a good one.
You, Marshall Faulk, share an agent with Ezekiel Elliott. Rocky Arsenault was your presenter at the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yes.
How do you think Zeke is ready? How do you think he's going to do in his first NFL playoff experience?
There's no, and I kind of thought this about Le'Veon Bell too. These kids, especially Zeke, because of how big the college game is now, and the magnitude of the game that they play in, the rivalry with Ohio State and Michigan, and what is on the line for winning and losing that game, I think the playoff games are going to be similar to them. He's going to rise to the occasion because he's just that kind of kid. The question is, when you get to the Super Bowl, there's nothing like that. I don't think there's anything like that in college. There's anything that's that visible that garners that much attention. But the playoff games, I expect them to come out and play well. The question is, play well could be the line is blocking okay, it may be anywhere from 85 to 105 yard day, or the line is dominating and he has a 190 yard, 200 yard day against the Packers. That could happen.
Mm-hmm. And certainly in light of the story you told in the previous segment about how you were so chill before games that you would nap, you'd fall asleep. Just quickly unpack that story about running out for a Super Bowl in light of what you just said about how different it is to play on that big game.
Being the guy who would nap, my first Super Bowl, we're in Atlanta, I run out, and I'm last, and I'm so hyped up. I start hyperventilating. I got to run to the sideline and get some oxygen
before the game.
Yeah, before the game, because you get so hyped up. You put so much into the game. at every other sport, I had won some sort of championship and got to see what it felt like, except in football. And this was my time. This was my opportunity. And man, you run out on that field. It's like, is this field 100 yards? There's so much media. And I always tell people it's, you either play home or you play away. You rarely play at a neutral site. So at the Super Bowl, you make a good play or a bad play, there's boos and cheers. So it's like
it's odd.
It's so different than any other game you play in. And it's man, it works on your emotions. It challenges you to be disciplined. And you have to be confident in your ability to play the game at a high level.
Marshall Faulk here on the Rich Eisen Show, and obviously the Cowboys would be fortunate. Any of the Final Eight teams would be fortunate to have such an experience like that. We had Tony Gonzalez sitting here yesterday, who will be joining you in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in the same manner that you made it as a first ballot guy when he's up for it. He said that if Dak struggles, there will absolutely be veterans on that sideline looking to Jason Garrett to make a move. If the Packers should somehow, some way get Dak off his game and go to Romo. Would you agree with that?
Well, it depends on what kind of struggle we're talking about, Rich. We're talking about struggle like missing throws, missing reads, maybe not being able to handle his nerves. Then yes. If we're talking about struggle like we saw against the Giants, which I don't equate that to Dak struggling. I felt like the game plan wasn't right. If you watch the film, some of the reads, his eyes weren't in the right place. And he's a well-coached kid. Like, he's a robot at this point in time. Mm-hmm. He's remembering, hey, when I pull out, it's cover 3, I start here to here to here. He's doing that. But then you had his eyes weren't in the right place on certain coverages, on certain concepts and plays. And then the receivers were dropping balls. Dez wasn't Dez. And you had those things. Dez slip, you throw an interception. Is that his fault or not? The interception goes to the quarterback. They never say the receiver slip. It just says interception. Mm-hmm. So there was some things that happened in that game. The offensive line, they weren't protecting how they were accustomed to. And then he didn't have the running game. I think if they're not running the ball well and his nerves is an issue for him in that game, that's when you put Tony in.
So you think Dallas wins that? Certainly with the news today that Jordy Nelson is definitely not playing in that game. You could pretty much figure that when you heard about broken ribs. Who comes to Dallas then, Atlanta or Seattle? Which one do you think?
Man, just based on how I saw Atlanta play in Seattle and how familiar they are with this defense, obviously because of their defensive coordinator and their abilities to know kind of what Seattle wants to do on offense. I think Atlanta at home, I like their abilities to put points up on the board and just what they were able to do in Seattle.
And so I'm assuming you'd, like the rest of America, think it's going to be a New England victory on Saturday night. So just for time's sake here.
I mean, is that like disrespectful to the Texans? I'm just wondering.
I don't think so. I don't know.
Or how many guys on the Texans, players and coaching staff, are looking at the pitches like, we're going to lose.
You tell me.
How can you not? I mean, they didn't have Tom Brady and they beat you.
Let me ask you this, Marshall. Would you gauge this Texan season as a success?
It just depends on how you look at success. I say, okay, they won the division and made the playoffs without J.J. Watt. That's a success. But they didn't do any better, and they paid $72 million for a quarterback.
That's a failure.
That's a failure. But they won one playoff game more than they've won since he's been there, so that's a success.
But they did it without J.J. Watt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like all the stuff that they've done without J.J. Watt.
And they found out that Clowney has the first overall talent that they were hoping that they could have.
Well,
right?
you can only have, I call it a rogue defender. In Pittsburgh, that was Troy Polamalu. He was the rogue defender. He could blow an assignment, bust a coverage, make a play, gamble. You could have that. The late Junior Seau was that guy for the Chargers. Teams usually have a guy that can do that. You don't have two. When J.J. Watt went out, they were willing to accept whatever Clowney could do. And when you allow a guy to do that, he learns how to play the game. He then becomes accountable, and he learns. He finds out what his skill set is and how does it work in the NFL. And I'm so proud of Jadeveon Clowney.
Let's round it out then. So then, who visits New England? Chiefs or Steelers? Who do you like in Sunday's game, Marshall?
You know, I cannot imagine Kansas City losing at home with how they are playing. This Tyreek Hill, he was not who he was when they played the Steelers the first time.
Well, I don't even know if he was out on the field.
He was not who he is now. Right. Macklin had to go down for them to insert him and for them to see, wow. I think Kansas City. I think Kansas City wins, and I don't like that Ben's in the boot. You know?
Well, he's out of the boot. He's out of the boot.
I'm just saying.
I think he let you know he was.
It's just
these guys would think that he lets you know he's in the boot, lets you know he's out of the boot.
I just don't like that Ben's in the boot.
Can I? There's 45 paid professional NFL players going to New England. That's a locker room that just won a playoff game and has pride. I mean, you said who's playing New England. Nobody is giving the Texans a chance. Like, do you remember a playoff game this deep, a divisional round game where people are just writing them in? And like, what is the Texans locker room saying about this and reacting?
Their locker room. Well, let's just say this: they either had to look at the film from the first game or not. They have to decide. Well, we were preparing for Brady to play, and that's why we lost like that. Or they have to think like, wow, we lost to a team that didn't have Tom Brady, and now they have Tom Brady, because it wasn't just a loss, it was a bad loss.
The manner in which
27-0.
It was offensively, the Texans looked awful.
Well, if you remember, that was the last one that J.J. Watt played in, and they basically ended his season right there. I want to take a break. We come back. I want to ask Mr. San Diego State himself what you think about the Chargers no longer being in San Diego and the pressure that might be on LaDainian Tomlinson up here in Los Angeles to maybe not associate himself with a team that, I mean, that's what some people in San Diego might be thinking. I don't know if they are. And then we've got Kevin Acey of the San Diego Union Tribune in hour number 3 with your phone calls, the weather report, and more still to come, because there's a big weather situation for that Chiefs-Steelers game. We're back with more with Marshall Faulk in a moment here on The Rich Eisen Show. Your thoughts on the San Diego Chargers being no more?
Just obviously, Rich, going through this 2 times now. I went through it, obviously, losing, having St. Louis lose the Rams, and now having San Diego lose the Chargers. It's the business. It's the nasty business that has to happen. The Chargers, they want to play in a nice stadium. Everybody's playing in a nice stadium, and the city of San Diego, they had some opportunities to keep the team, and it's sad that they could not come up with a way to keep the team. It's just sad. I feel bad for the fans there, but the fans whom don't want to drive up the coast and support the San Diego Chargers or the Los Angeles Chargers, just come on over to San Diego State games. We'll take you.
Yeah. So
we'll take you.
Did you see the last play in the history of the San Diego Chargers was Ronnie Hillman, a 2-yard run? An Aztec carrying the ball in Qualcomm.
Yeah.
Do you think LT has any pressure on him? Because he is Mr. San Diego Charger. We had a poll question yesterday, included Fouts, included Phillip Rivers, included Lance Allworth, the most famous. We included Junior, and he won the polls, the most famous Charger of all time on our poll yesterday.
LaDainian does, and I only know he does because just last year I went through this with Orlando Pace. Being like, if LaDainian he's wishing probably he would win the Hall of Fame last year or maybe next year, but this year when the team is moving, it's such a challenge for the player. And I listened to LT's interview. He handled it perfect, Rich. And there's sympathy for the fans in San Diego, and there's hope that the fans will travel with the team and that they get new fans up here in LA. That's all you can do. And Orlando Pace went through this last year, and I don't know if you remember, in his speech, he referenced the St. Louis Rams fans and thanked them as he should have, and also reference the Los Angeles Rams fans, because this is where his legacy is going to stand, although that is where it was built. It's just the nature of this business and how it is. I was explaining to the Chris's, it's not like they're no longer going to be the Chargers. You don't lose your last name. If this was like the Houston Oilers, if I was a Hall of Famer for the Houston Oilers, I would be lost because people would not know how to find me.
Interesting.
As the Chargers remain, Los Angeles will be the name in the front, but the Chargers in the back. People are going to know where to find Junior Seau. They're going to know where to find the other Hall of Famers, the Dan Fouts. They're going to know how to find them. It's not like you're gone away and people don't even, the younger kids won't even know the Houston Oilers were even in the league.
Well, I'll see you at the NFL Network. You'll find me again.
Yes.
I'll be back to myself.
I think you should come like this. Right?
Oh, my gosh. Only 1 hour in this getup.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.